Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. And I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely encountered a lot of like spoiled kids in my life. I've encountered kids that when they don't get what they want, man, they just throw a fit. And it's partly on them, but also partly on the parents. And but one thing I can tell you is I've never met a kid as spoiled as this kid. Because this kid, when he didn't get what he wanted, he literally burned down the summer camp, dude. What? Anyways, yeah, that's today's story. I know you'll enjoy it, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new. Leave a like on the video right now to fly. I'm not even kidding. Leave a like on the video. You will start levitating. Not a joke at all. And let's just jump right into it. So anyways, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Jake. So anyways, this was Jake's first year going to a summer camp. And Jake was in 7th grade at this time, or a sleepaway camp. Jake had been to many summer camps before, but I don't know about you, but at least in the United States, because I know I have a lot of people outside the States, and maybe not even just the United States, but for a lot of people, right, they'll go to summer camp, but the real big step up is going to sleepaway camp. I know, at least for me, like going to sleepaway camp, that was like the big deal because like you're finally away from your parents like the entire day or the entire week. And that was pretty crazy, right? That was a pretty big step in the direction of being a teenager. And anyways, yeah, so this was a pretty big deal for Jake. He was pretty nervous, and he was driving down with his parents, and he was talking to them about how, oh, what if I don't know anyone there, or what if I don't like anyone there? What if I want to see you guys? And they said, Jake, like, look, if it's really bad, you can always call us, and we can always come and get you. But we think you're going to have a great time, and we do ask that even if you're a little nervous in the first couple days, give it a little bit of time. And Jake, was feeling a little bit more comfortable, and he got excited. So anyways, they eventually get to the summer camp, and, they walk up to the front desk or whatever, and, the mom's like, hey, this is Jake. And they're like, oh, Jake, how's it going? Like, you can go over to Group B over there. And they were split up by cabins, so Jake walks over. And before he walks over, actually, he says goodbye to his parents, gives them a hug, and he walks over. So there's a bunch of guys over there, and there's just one kid who we're going to call Ben. Ben was the spoiled kid. However, unlike a lot of other spoiled kids in my stories, he actually was kind of chill. He's kind of a chill guy. He's a chiller. He was cool, right? He was actually Jake's friend for a little while until he does something literally insane, as you'll see. But I just did the leafy literally. Jesus Christ, literally. Anyways, this kid was actually kind of cool at first. So, Jake goes over there and they're like, introduce yourself to everyone, and people are going around. It's a little introduction before they go off to the cabins, and kind of just like naturally, how like sometimes you'll be in a group and just naturally you'll start talking to someone. Like there's no real indication for why you should. It's not because like you guys have a shared passion of Star Wars or Bitcoin mining, or I'm bringing the joke back, guys. You guys have been like, I haven't made that joke since January, and I've gotten comments saying bring it back. So you ask and I shall do. Anyways, right. They just kind of hit it off right away, and Ben does not appear as like some kind of spoiled kid or anything. He appears as a totally normal dude. So yeah, Jake and him actually hit it off really well. So they go back to the cabins, and they're kind of like shown around or whatever. And it's kind of new to them because they've never been to sleepaway camp before. So, some kids were probably like, oh my God, like this is disgusting. Like, where's my hot showers? Where's my TV? No. But yeah, the first time I went to sleepaway camp, I went with a friend. It was an awesome experience, and I was super nervous. But anyways, right, Jake and Ben decide to choose a bunk together. And things start to get more interesting, or kind of the story starts to unfold more that night. So anyways, they go to dinner as a cabin, and, one of their camp counselors who is in the cabin with them says, all right, guys, well, we have a really fun thing tonight, and I know you'll be excited for it. So eventually, let's skip ahead to that point. And basically what happened then was that they had this kind of camp-wide massive bonfire type thing where every kid in the camp and every staff, everyone basically would go around this big campfire, and the leader of the camp, like the leader of the friend group, I don't know, the guy who ran the camp, right, would come out and he would do some secret, he'd say some secret song or something that the kids from who've been here before knew by heart, and the kids who were new were in I don't know. It was pretty cool. It was like one of those little if you know, you know, and if you don't, you really want to know type things. So like eventually they all walk out there, tons of kids out there. It's around a big campfire, big bonfire type thing. And that's when Jake and Ben, who are talking with each other, they see a group of girls. And, at this point, Jake kind of leans over. He's like, hey, Ben, you want to go meet some new friends? And Ben's like, I'm all ears, man. Like, what are you talking about? And Jake kind of points over, looks over and says, dude, look over there. And there's like a big group of girls. And Ben's like, all right, say less. So they both walk over, they introduce themselves. All the girls are pretty nice and chatty. And there was one girl specifically who we're going to call Livy for this, Livy, right? Yeah, she was, I don't want to say like she was the prettiest of the group, but she may or may not have been the prettiest of the group there, which doesn't necessarily mean, okay, guys, I'm gonna sound like an a-hole a little bit, but okay, there's a reason why Jake and Ben were talking to her more. Okay, maybe I don't sound like the a-hole, maybe they do. I don't know, dude. I really don't know. Anyways, I'm just the messenger. I'm just the storyteller. Don't shoot the messenger, bro, okay? That's what is said in every single time, except in the movie 300, the messenger gets bodied into a pit and dies. So hopefully you guys don't body me into a pit or stab me in the back like it's Dark Souls or something. But anyways, enough getting distracted. Yeah, so Ben and Jake immediately just like strike up this conversation with this Livy girl. And this Livy girl is nice. She's very pretty. She's engaging in conversation back with them, which honestly at this point Jake was telling me, like, if any girl engaged with the conversation, if any girl didn't just say okay to everything he said, like, how's it going? Good. Like, if she responded good, how are you? Then dude, he wants to marry her. Like, oh my god, like, at this point, right? But anyways, this girl was really cool. Jake and Ben are both really talking to her. However, it becomes a little complicated because they both start to like her. Oh no! Drama in the friend group over a girl. All right, the story gets a bit more interesting than just that because the spoil kid eventually burns down the entire frickin' school, dude. So yeah, believe it or not, this is a vital detail to getting to the point of the spoiled kid literally burning down the frickin', not the school, I'm thinking of another story, literally burning down the summer camp. But anyways, you might be thinking, how are we getting there? Give me time, give me a second, sit back, relax, don't get worried about it, leave a like on the video to fly, you know how it already goes. So yeah, Jake and Ben are talking with her a lot, and that's, eventually the bonfire's over, Livy's cool, they're talking with her, and they're walking back, and Ben turns to Jake and is like, dude, like, I'm 100% gonna try and, like, I'm gonna shoot my shot at some point. And Jake at this point in his head is like, shoot, I wish I'd said something first, because now Jake can't be like, oh, I want to shoot my shot too. I mean, he could, but let's be real. That's a recipe for just like basically saying, hey, like, we can't be, not that we can't be friends anymore, but dude, if a guy's like, oh, I'm going to try and shoot my shot, and you want to be friends with him, maybe don't say I'm going to try and shoot my shot as well, because you'll have a bit of a rivalry. I don't know about that. But anyways, Jake was kind of like, damn, like, if I said that first, I would have basically been in the clear, but whatever, I'm going to have to hold my tongue. So yeah, every single day from that point on, Ben and Jake, they're chill, they're hanging out, they're having a good time. But also, Ben is always telling him about, like, oh, today I talked to Livy for X amount of time or whatever. And in one of the group activities, or one of the activities that Jake was in, that Ben wasn't in, Jake had it with Livy, and Jake and Livy kind of became friends. But it was always kind of, like, hard for Jake because, like, he knew that he could never pursue without potentially messing up the friendship. That's always that's actually happened to me before, at a summer camp before. It's tough. It's a tough situation, but thankfully for summer camp, you're only there for, I don't know, a couple weeks, right? However, the more time Jake spent with this Livy girl, the more he felt like, dude, like, she's awesome, she's pretty, and, like, is the only reason I'm not pursuing her is just because Ben, this guy I just met, also wants to pursue her? Like, I don't know, I might want to pursue her anyways. So anyways, a couple days go by, and Jake, goes over to Ben and is like, hey, are you still, like, pursuing that Livy girl? And Ben's like, yeah, I am. Jake's like, oh, how's it going with that? And Jake's like, dude, I actually think I'm going to try and, like, ask her out, like, for, like, a date or whatever pretty soon. Remember, dude, they were in 7th grade. Asking someone out was actually more of a thing in middle school than it is now that I'm in college. I'm like, dude, what? Why is it reversed like that? Yeah, but unfortunately, hopefully the college you go to, people are a bit chiller when it comes to that stuff. But anyways, yeah, so Jake was kind of had to hold his tongue. Like this actually happened to me once at camp. It's just not long enough of a story for me to make an actual story out of it. But there was a guy that I befriended, and there was this girl. I didn't say anything because I knew that he was pursuing. And yeah, it was tough. You hate to see it. Taking another L. But it just be like that sometimes. Anyways, though, right? Jake is kind of like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, that's just how it's got to be. And eventually, Jake kind of makes peace with it. He says, I'd rather stay friends with Ben than risk, ruining the friendship that we have just because I want to pursue this girl who I'm going to see for the next week. Literally the next week. Like, I'd rather have this friendship with Ben just in case we want to come back another year than try and pursue a girl and ruin it. Which, in a lot of cases, is probably the right call, and I think Ben made the right call here. Jake made the right call here. So Jake goes on to say, well, man, like, are you trying to do it today? And Ben's like, yeah, I think by the time that like we see each other again, I'm going to have shot my shot, and it's either going to be a win or it's going to be a tough day for both of us. And, Jake kind of looks at him, laughs a little bit. It's like, all right, man, well, best of luck. I am really wishing like the best for you right here. And yeah, they go off. And Jake that morning talks to Livy one more time because they have like a group activity thing together in the morning. And Jake, while he's talking to her, it's just like, because like she's cool, right? She's cool and she's pretty. And Jake is like kind of infatuated with her a little bit, right? At least a little bit. And Jake's kind of like, damn, like this is kind of tough because either the next time like I talk to her, there's a chance that she's going to be like in a thing with my best friend or rejected him. And then either way I can't pursue, right? Yeah, that would be almost worse in a way. Actually, no, both would be pretty bad. And so Jake is like, you know what? Let me just savor this last moment with her, right? And she's like talking with him, and he's just kind of like, just kind of looking at her, zoning off or whatever. And yeah, he eventually, some time goes by, and he waits till Ben gets back. And when Ben gets back, Ben kind of has this look on his face, this discouraged, not super excited, low energy look. And almost immediately, Jake realized what the verdict was. Because, look, here's the thing. If she said yes, Jake would have been literally coming in being like, let's go, baby, let's go. Like Jake, come over here, man, come over here. I have the greatest news to tell you. But instead, he was just like, he walked in and he didn't say anything. So Jake immediately knew. He looked over, he's like, dude, I'm sorry. And Jake's like, bro, like, I didn't even ask her out. And at this point, Jake's like, Ben, what do you mean? Because in Jake's head, he's like, oh, maybe he changed his mind and I can pursue. And Jake's like, no, dude, like apparently she's been talking to this other guy the whole time. And dude, apparently she came here with her boyfriend. At this point, Jake and Ben are both kind of like, or Jake's like, no. And Ben's like, dude, yeah, I know. And at this point, Jake made a kind of mistake, right? A little bit of a mistake. And that's when he basically thought that it would be better, like to almost to console him, to tell, this was kind of stupid, but he was thinking in Jake's mind, he was like, oh, I'm going to tell Ben that I also had like a thing for her, right? And that we can both suffer in this together. So yeah, anyways, Jake's like, you know what, man, if it makes you feel any better, like, I always thought she was really pretty too. And like, if you weren't going to pursue, I definitely was. So we can kind of like relate to this together. And Ben looks at him and says, you were trying to pursue as well? Kind of this like, what? And the thing is, Jake's like, no, that's not what I said. You're twisting my words. What I said was, I would have pursued if you didn't pursue. Which honestly, I think is fine. I think it's a little weird to say. It would be weird to say if like that was like his girlfriend. That would be really messed up to say. You'd be weird for that. But it's not. It's just a girl he kind of liked. However, Ben took that really poorly. And Ben was like, dude, I'm already having a bad day that this girl that I really wanted rejected me, which she didn't directly reject him, but whatever. And now you're telling me that you were going to like go behind my back and try and like get with her too? And Jake's like, whoa, chill. That's not what I said. I just said that like, in an alternate reality, if you weren't going for it, I might have tried. And at this point, Ben's like, I can't believe you, dude, which is kind of a complete overreaction. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment a camp down down below, CAMP, or sleepaway camp. You can comment either that phrase or just camp. I'm going to try and hard a bunch of comments to say that, just to say thank you for making this far into the video. And just as a little reminder, the best thing you can do to support the channel is just watch as many videos as you can. Literally sitting down and just like binge watching old videos just while you're doing something, it helps more than you can ever imagine. I'm trying to get the channel back up. I'm getting back into it. So please let me know in the comments section, like, what you're doing while watching the videos or how many videos you watch today. I will try and heart and reply to as many as I possibly can, just to say thank you guys, just for all the work you've really done getting the channel back out of the gutter. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a like to fly immediately and subscribe if you're new. And anyways, yeah, so at this point, you know, Ben and Jake are kind of beefing with each other, and Jake's really confused, like, why is he so mad at me or whatever? And Ben's like, you know what? I gotta get some fresh air. So he like walks out of the camp cabin, and this other kid was sitting there kind of listening to the whole thing. And he's like, dude, like, I don't know why like Ben's so mad. And Jake's like, well, I mean, he did just get rejected by this girl. And he's like, the guy's like, yeah, fair, but all you said, like, you thought she was cute too. Like, you were actually like being a good friend by not like swooping in like when he was trying. Like, you could have if you wanted to. It's not like they were dating or something. And Jake's like, yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I thought if anything, it would be like we could relate on the pain of this, right? And he's like, oh, I guess not. So anyways, for the rest of the night, like, Jake was just like being avoided by Ben. Like, Ben was just avoiding Jake, and Ben was just stewing. He was getting angrier and angrier and angrier, because at this point, Ben was like, first I can't have the girl of my dreams. Now my best friend tries to betray me, which I don't know if that's a betrayal, dude, but anyways, he's like, yeah, and he's just like, he is stewing, and he's angry, and he didn't get what he wanted. And here's the thing, right? Jake didn't really realize exactly what type of person Ben was. And I don't mean like he was like some crazy serial killer, evil person, right? But he was, if you only have a week to know someone, you're not going to know everything about them, right? You're not going to know the extent of all the things that they do, all the sick things they do in their free time, just playing with you. But you're not going to really understand all the ups and downs of an individual. In fact, you're probably just going to get the very surface level, the cream of the crop good stuff, right? You're not going to understand all their inner workings. So the truth was, Ben was not as cool as they all once thought. Ben, in fact, was kind of a spoiled kid, right? He was a kid who always got what he wanted. And one thing that was true was that he would get mad and mad and madder and madder, and whenever he didn't get what he wanted. And the thing was, too, it wasn't like he stayed at the same level of anger. He was just stewing. He sat there thinking about it again and again. And I know definitely for myself, like when I'm upset about stuff, I will occasionally just sit there and just stew over it. It's just unhealthy, man. Don't do that. But the thing is, like, I don't get progressively more and more angry, right? But this kid was just getting angrier and angrier and angrier. So the next day, right? It was also the night before was super awkward because like they shared a bunk. And Jake was bottom bunk, so he just kind of like was in there when like Ben walked into the room, dead silent, and like walked above him to get to top bunk, which was pretty uncomfortable, but like whatever, I guess. Yeah, but anyways, how do I say this? The next day, Ben just wasn't anywhere to be found. Ben was literally nowhere to be found, and Jake didn't really think anything of it. He just assumed, oh, well, the kid like left early to go, I don't know, man. He left early to do something. Like, who even knows at this point? But yeah, so that definitely happened. Jake was like, okay, whatever, like, that's fine. Like, that's he can go off and do whatever he wants. He kind of thought that he went off on like some kind of like morning run or something just to like get the fumes out or whatever. And that's when everyone leaves the cabin. And so they're at like so when Jake is back with his at like the first activity of the day, and that's the activity when he's with Livy, right? He's still talking to Livy. The thing is, they're friends, and even if he can't like have her, right, as like a girlfriend or whatever, he doesn't super care because he can still be friends with her, and that's honestly cool enough. And they're talking or whatever, and that's when there's like rumors of like this kid comes over and he starts talking, and he's kind of just like, he's like, dude, like, you're not gonna believe this. I think something's like crazy is going on. And Jake's like, what do you mean by that? And at this point, Livy and Jake kind of turn over to this kid and is like, what do you hear? And he's like, apparently there's like, I just saw these like firefighters come over. They went to like East Campus or whatever, and East Campus was where all like the housing was, and also where Jake and Ben's camp cabin was. And he's like, oh God, like what happened? You think there's like a forest fire or something, or like what do you think happened? And they're like, dude, we don't really know. And after about 10 minutes, like, Livy and Jake look over, and their camp counselor, the guy who's like doing whatever program they have together at this point, gets like a message on his like phone or whatever, and he like picks up the call, and you just see his face is just like, what? Like, you can tell someone's face when they're on the phone, and they're just like, whoa, dude, like this is kind of messed up. So anyways, he has his face on, and they're all kind of like, okay, like what's going on? Like something is definitely going on here. And after getting off the phone call, the camp counselor guy's like, hey guys, like, this is like, we have to end our thing early. We're all supposed to go to the field. Yeah, he says, I don't really know that much more. Like, and he does know a little bit more, but I don't think he can say, right? He's like, yeah, I don't really know that much more. All I know is like, whatever you're doing, just put it down here. We got to go to the field. So at this point, Livy and like Jake kind of look at each other, and Jake's like, dude, what do you think this is? And she's like, I have no idea, but it definitely doesn't sound like routine or whatever. So they walk over to the field, which is like on the east, it's like on the opposite side of wherever the firefighter trucks went. And they're all standing there, and it's, they're not all standing there. Jake and Livy are walking over with their small group, and they walk over and they see like every other group on campus walking over to the same place that they're walking to. And that's when they realize that, something was definitely up today. So they're walking over, and it's like everyone's like standing out in this big field by group. So it looks like some kind of fire drill or something. They're like, okay, well, maybe this isn't a drill, but like this is what like we did like for fires at our camp or whatever. So, or at our school. So like they walk over, and Livy turns to him and is like, I think it's like some kind of fire or something, just to be safe. And so they're walking over, and they're in their little groups or whatever, right? And that's when one of the camp counselor guys comes over to Jake, and he's like, hey, like, can you come with me? And Livy kind of looks at him, and Jake gives a look of like, I have no idea what's going on right now. Like, I literally have no idea. And so he like walks over, and he's kind of just like looks at the camp guy, and he's like what's good? Like, what's going on? And the guy's like, hey, like, I just wanted to know if like, because I knew that you were close with Ben. And at this point, Jake's like genuinely concerned for Ben, because he's like, why are they talking to me about Ben? Like, that's really weird. And they're like, yeah, I knew that you were close with him, so I just wanted to ask you a few questions. And Jake is kind of looking at him like, huh? And eventually Jake speaks up and says, hey, can you just give me some context here? And they said, and the guy's like, well, I don't know how much I'm allowed to tell you, but there was an incident back at like the campsite. And Jake is looking at him and kind of says, incident? He's like, yeah, apparently the kid was like super mad or something, and all the camp, like I think he took one of the counselor's lighters or something, and he went to the bathroom and like lit all the toilet paper on fire and like draped around the campfire he draped around like the house that you guys were living in, and the whole thing went down, and he had to call the fire department, and they're trying to make sure it doesn't spread to anywhere else, but no, we just wanted to know if there's a reason why he could have done this. And Jake is just looking at them. And Jake is like starting to comprehend what happens. Because, dude, I don't know. If someone came up to me and said, like, yeah, this guy that you're friends with literally burned down the camp, dude. And the main reason, the only thing that you can possibly think of is because a girl said no. And that girl that said no to him was also a girl that you were like, oh, she's bad, lol. Like, she's a 10. Like that would actually be the reason. Like, that would actually be the reason for it. I think I would definitely be sitting there just for a second being like, dude, there's no shot. Like, there's actually no shot. That's the thing. But yeah, at this point, Jake's like kind of snaps out of it. He's like, he was like upset about something. And the guy's like, oh, well, what was he upset about? He's like, this girl said no to him basically, but not even. And the guy's like, well, that can't be it. And Jake's like, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I know. It sounds pretty stupid to me. And yeah, they let Jake go. And Jake goes back to the kind of the group thing, whatever, and he meets up with Livy again. She's like, why, they need to talk to you, like, what happened? And Jake at this point is like, all right, well, you can't tell anyone, but, you know Ben? She's like, yeah, like, I talk with him a little bit. And they're like, and Jake's like, apparently. So yeah, Jake goes on to explain to Livy that, yeah, that Ben allegedly, right? Because he's like, hold up, this guy just came up and said this to me. Like, I don't even know, but allegedly he might have gotten angry and set stuff on fire that set our cabin on fire. Livy's just like completely shocked. She's like, Ben was such a good kid. Like, he was so nice to me. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that, like, he would have done something like that. Like, that's crazy. And yeah, they kind of just stood there, and they stood there for like literally in that field for like 3 hours or something. And it was pretty boring, but also better than being on fire, I guess. So, Jake couldn't really complain. Eventually, they went back, and all the people in Jake's cabin were kind of pulled aside, and they said, hey, like, we're going to have to put you into housing that's slightly off campus. Or, no. It was like they had to reassign them somehow. I bet, like, what they did was they put them in, like, other empty cabins, but they had to break them up or whatever. So they just want to let them know that they had to live somewhere else. And yeah, for the rest of camp, they never saw Ben again. And most likely that was because they didn't let him back after he set the place on fire, because that is a pretty good reason to not let someone back. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. Maybe I think that, like, I don't know. Maybe setting the whole place on fire is totally cool, totally chill. And that they're totally overreacting here. But I think it's kind of fair. And, eventually Jake's mom picks him up, and she's like, oh, how was camp? Did anything interesting happen? And he's like, camp was good. And yes, something interesting did happen. And Jake went on to go tell her the fire story, whatever, and she was, like, freaking out or whatever. And apparently Jake's mom did a little investigation online or whatever, and there was, like, some kind of, like, Facebook post or something about, like, because some other parent at the camp, like, was told about it and was spreading rumors. Apparently, like, it was nothing. They didn't know anything new, but there was, like, an official, like, police report about it or something like that. I don't totally know, but yeah, Jake returned to the camp next year, and understandably, he did not see Ben, because I got a feeling that Ben was not invited back. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, the best thing you can do is watch another video. And also, if you leave a like right now, you will literally be able to fly. If you leave a like, you will start levitating. It's incredible. I mean, if you don't, well, you would never know. So just go ahead and leave a like. But no, seriously, guys, thank you so much for the support. The best way to help me out is to watch another video right after this one. And just thank you all so much. Peace.